Hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk about the gray rock and the yellow rock method, which are basically coping strategies, as you probably already know, used to deal with people who have toxic and abusive behavior. But the thing that I want to talk about is I wanted to talk about the things that you should watch out for and be careful with. And these are things that come from personal experiences and mistakes that I've made along the way as I utilize those methods. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my take on that, and I hope it helps you. So as I said, the gray rock method is basically a coping strategy. So it involves you becoming as emotionally uninteresting and unresponsive as possible in the presence of an unsafe person. And the idea behind this method is that individuals who have abusive behaviors, they will try and get a rise out of you, right? They will, and it is through this act of getting a rise out of you that they gain power and control over you. Because whatever you do will be used against you, And so by becoming emotionally unresponsive, you take away the source of your abuser's power and control, as there is no longer a reaction that they can feed off of. But the goal of the gray rock method is to basically minimize contact with toxic individuals while avoiding, and to help you avoid really uncomfortable confrontations. And also it's designed to help reduce the toll of the emotional toll that you will have from that interaction. So the gray rock method will involve behaviors such as shrugging your shoulders, giving short answers like yes or no, not responding to any sort of passive aggressive comments that are directed at you, just like okay. You don't give them your opinion, you don't show them your emotions. It's just short, non-responsive reactions, and basically not permitting them, putting an invisible wall in front of you, in which they no longer have access to your inner world. So they don't have access, they don't get to know anything about you anymore. That information is no longer to be given to them, And there's also the yellow rock method. And the yellow rock method, it's the same thing, but it involves sort of using a positivity spin. I know somebody who they work remotely and they have a communication system with the workers, and one of them is particularly toxic. So what he'll do, he'll send them a happy face emoji. Ding! There's a happy face emoji. Okay, it's basically, gracefully, moving that negative energy away from you, but with a smile. It's sort of like method acting almost. Like when you walk into a place and they're not safe for you, you have to sort of it's almost like being a salesman. Hey, nice to see you. You shake their hand, and then if they say something, okay, well, let's stick to the positive. I like to stick to the positive. Life is short, and that's it. You don't engage. You don't give them any parts of yourself. I can tell you a story. At one point, I met a person through an activity that I attend to regularly, and I actually allowed that person in, not too much, but they wanted to do something with me. I said, cool, so we hung out. But after having seen them a couple of times, I started noticing that there was signs, things were making me uncomfortable. And, I knew that this wasn't going to be a safe person for me. Just they were inconsistent, and it was just not when you've been through things, you can recognize when someone's not safe for you. You can, your body will let you know these things as well, eh? And I didn't want to deal with this, obviously, but we of course, if we didn't have a common space that we both attended regularly, I would just don't respond to messages anymore, and that's it, fade away. But because, we still had to attend this common thing, really the best thing is to sort of, what I did was that I kept it super positive. I stayed civil, and I was, when I saw that person, I was like, hey, it's good to see you, to protect myself, really, and, good to see you. How are you? Oh, you look great. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm like super busy. And, sometimes there will be like passive aggressive comments thrown my way, or she would look at me and give me a stare or whatever, but I'll pretend that I just didn't see it. I just pretend I don't see it. I go on my phone, I pretend I'm in a call, I keep a smile on my face, and that's it. There's absolutely no response, and eventually she got bored and she moved on. And this is still something, every once in a while I'll still see this person, but I was able to sort of stop it before it got to any point, and like anywhere further. And the yellow method was a great way of doing that, because it allows you to sort of keep a friendly face, like you remain friendly, you remain nice, but you just say no with a smile. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I'm actually really busy today. You look great though. Oh, that's a great necklace. Have you seen the weather? Like, you just change the subject and then retreat, leave that conversation as soon as you can, and be mindful of other stuff. Okay, so having said that, I do have some insights that I want to share with you when it comes to utilizing these methods, especially if you are still, especially when you're utilizing those methods, if you're actually still deeply affected by the person, the narcissistic parent, or whoever, and their behavior, and if it still really affects you, and if it affects your environment and so on. The thing about utilizing the gray rock method when you're really dealing with a narcissistic parent, or someone that you've been like deeply involved with, or someone that there's some sort of bond already in place, that you need to sort of break, is really important that you know that it will get worse before it gets better. It will get worse before it gets better, because when you start gray rocking, they will notice. They will start noticing your change in behavior. And if they have a habit of scapegoating you, or if they are so emotionally dysregulated that they will need to find a target regardless of who is standing there. For example, if they're having a bad day or something and they need to release it out of their system, it doesn't matter how much gray rocking you've done in the past, they will still look for you and find a way to release it out on you. And if that doesn't work because you're gray rocking, and if they can't get a rise out of you, they will still find a way to get a satisfaction from releasing that inner evil that they carry, I guess we can put it that way. They can destroy your reputation, for example. They will go to other people and they will say all sorts of things about you. They will smear your reputation, whatever it takes to release it out of their system. For example, like my mother, she would use her health problems. I want to put that in brackets because she has been dying of something ever since like I was a kid. Always dying of something, and there was actually never anything really concretely wrong with her. It was just something. She would utilize her physical health as a weapon. She would weaponize that to get what she wanted out of people, and to control other people as well. I was once told, while I was decreasing contact with her, that she had cancer, but there was no cancer. Like, she sent an enabler to tell me that she had cancer, she was dying of cancer, but then there was no cancer. I was also told by enablers as well that she had, all sorts of things, and then what would happen is that, people would end up thinking that I was heartless for, either gray rocking or being low contact with her, because I didn't show care, I didn't show like what they wanted me to show, in her presence. They will create such a narrative around you and they will utilize whatever method they can to get a rise out of you. And if they can't get a rise out of you, they will do it by sending the flying monkeys, and the flying monkeys will call you. They will, another thing that they will do is that they will start calling you cold and unfriendly. They will start like attacking your character differently when you gray rock, and they will get other people to start perceiving you that way, so that you end up having to actually like gray rocking not just the narcissistic parent, but like everybody who's involved with them, anybody who enables them. And when it gets to the point that you actually have to start gray rocking your entire family, basically, it is psychologically draining, and it's traumatic, because you don't have a clan. You don't have safety within your own clan. You don't have any sort of psychological safety. There's nowhere that you can turn to. You have to start gray rocking everybody, and the thing is that the gray rock and the yellow rock methods, they're a good step for you to protect yourself. But if you don't do the work to actually safeguard yourself psychologically, and like if you don't actually start doing the work on your self-esteem, building yourself up, building a world that is separate from that system, or the system that enables the narcissist in your life, if you don't start doing the work to create another safe space for yourself, if you don't work on your personal development, if you don't work on detaching emotionally while you do the gray rock, then the gray rock can actually turn you into a ticking time bomb. Straight up, because this is the thing about the gray rock, is that it's a tool, but it will not change the narcissist or the unsafe person. They will not, change their personality style just because you started using the gray rock or the yellow rock method, So it serves as a tool to safeguard yourself and to not give them any more information about yourself. But they are still going to remain a narcissist. They are still going to, even though the fights don't escalate to a point where you explode and then it gets worse, they are still going to hurt you. They are still going to do things that hurt you. So when it comes down to gray rocking, you kind of have to view gray rock as, gray rock is the shield, is like one step, but with that gray rocking, there has to be another step, which is absolutely emotional detachment, personal development, prioritizing yourself. You gotta start doing the work to bring yourself to a space where you actually don't care about what they do or say about you anymore. And that is a completely different ballgame. So, for me, I did the gray rocking quite successfully with my mother for a couple of years. But where I failed in my gray rocking, and while I was, safeguarding myself, the place where I failed was that actually I didn't allow myself to grieve. I didn't do the personal development work as well as I should have, which is why now all of the stuff that I release is always centered around your own, like working on your inner world. Because if you don't work on that inner world, if you don't work on yourself, doing the gray rock method is good. It will safeguard you, but all that pain will continue to accumulate, I did the gray rock method successfully, but I was never able to get used to how she treated me. The fact that her love was so conditional, so one-sided, and that she expected to be worshipped. But if I showed emotion, it was like silent treatment, and then she would get, other people. It was, the bad mouthing and the reputation destruction that these people do, getting other family members to call you and give you speeches, I mean, you have to remain stoic. You have to remain stoic while they do what they do, and then while they get other people to gang up on you. And, you know, and not say a thing, right? And you have to take it stoically, and while you are also most likely dealing with CPTSD, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, you know, while you're dealing with your own mental health and you're dealing with the health problems that the narcissistic person has caused within you. And then you have to remain stoic while people are still coming at you, you know? And at the time that I was gray rocking, I hadn't processed my grief. I hadn't accepted that I would actually never have a mom. I never, you know, it was very difficult to accept that I didn't have any, and, you know, I didn't grieve, you know, I didn't allow myself to feel what I was supposed to feel. You know, I think in a way I was sort of still trying, or at least I was still hoping that someday the enablers would sort of see me for the first time and would sort of see me under a different light. Maybe someday they would actually wake up to how she was behaving, because I was telling them ever since I was a kid, well, not the kids, ever since my teenage years, I was telling them that, you know, there was something wrong with her, she needed help and such. And, you know, her behavior was so normalized in my family that they couldn't even see it. They couldn't even see how dysfunctional she was, you know. And so, you know, there's no safe person that you can turn to. And because when the narcissist isn't there, the enablers may be nice to you, but when the narcissist shows up, everything changes on you, around you, you know. And they will call you and tell you all sorts of things to draw you back in. You know, if you choose to gray rock, if you have to gray rock to safeguard yourself, you have to, when you gray rock, you have to accept along the gray rocking that this is it. This is the last sort of resort. You have to accept that you will never be protected by those people. You have to accept that you will never be validated, that your experiences with the narcissist will never be acknowledged. They will always be downplayed, that you will be denied. When you try to look for comfort, you know, or maybe for someone to comfort you, they will get exasperated with you because the narcissistic parent takes all the room with their dysregulation, and there is no room for you in that family system, you know, for emotional safety, I guess, best thing. There's no room for that, you know, within you. And you have to accept all of these things. When you gray rock, you have to accept that the dysfunction will actually continue, you know. And so you have no choice but to teach yourself to actually truly emotionally detach from the narcissist and from the entire system, and really start to focus on yourself and without their voices. And you actually have to start learning also how to undo that conditioning, how to get rid of guilt, how to internalize all the things they say, how to not have them like affect your mental health and your mood. You have to teach yourself to do all those things when you gray rock. Because if what you're doing is like gray rocking, but you're still internalizing what's happening around you, that pain is going to accumulate more and more and more and more. And that's what happened to me, you know. I didn't do my internal work enough. I wasn't at the point where I couldn't accept that the system would never change, you know. I was always hoping, I held on to that hope, you know. And so the last time that I spoke with her, she threw a usual passive-aggressive jab at me, and she gaslit me about something. And you know what? After a few years of successfully gray rocking and not reacting to the whole system, I exploded. It all came out. It all came out. It all came out that day. And I'm going to be very honest with you. You know, I hurt myself. And I experienced depersonalization. And that day, well, a few days later, once I recovered from the extreme panic and attack and that sickness, you know, that, you know, that bottled up pain that was just accumulating within me. And then I just kept gray rocking, and yet the pain kept continuing to accumulate within me, and I wasn't doing the work right to get myself to a better place, you know. I exploded completely. Like I said, it all came out. It all came out. I was like a walking bomb. And that day I exploded. And that was it. That was the last time that I ever allowed that woman to ever have any sort of access to me. And you know, as a result, while I experienced this, you know, I went, that's really when I did my final no contact, and I said to myself, you know what, anybody who tries to draw me back into this, anybody who enables this person, anybody who is a part of that world cannot be a part of my world anymore. That's the point that it came to. And even till this day, and you know, of course, I did everything that I wasn't supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to, you know, when you go no contact, there's certain things that you're supposed to do. You have to remain stoic. You can give them like a short sort of paragraph explaining, you know, I am no longer going to be a part of this person's life due to the following reason. You give them like one reason, like one sentence. And that's it, you know, and then you remain stoic and you really gray rock. But that wasn't what happened with me. I mean, like I said, I was in a terrible state. I exploded. And I wrote like a 10-page letter about my feelings, you know, and I sent that to the enablers, which of course that wasn't well received at all. And till this day, you know, of course, that was when my father told me, go take your pills and come back when you feel better, because that was the proof that they needed that I was crazy. And the golden child never spoke to me again after that. That was, you know, everybody sort of left, you know. And till this day, you know, my father will still send postcards during Christmas that say, your mother and I love you. Your mother and I love you. We love you. At one point they sent something to my husband, you know. We love you. We together as a team, you know. This you know, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing that you can do, you know, there's nothing that you can do. And so my advice now is, you know, when you use the gray rock and the yellow rock as a tool, the work doesn't end there. In fact, if you are at the point where you have to do gray rock or yellow rock anywhere, whether out there, like with social areas of your life or within your family system, just doing the gray rock and the yellow rock by itself isn't enough. It's a tool that will help protect you. It's a behavior that is good for you to apply, that you must apply with unsafe people. But with that tool, you also have to bring your entire attention to your personal development. You actually have to work on emotionally detaching from anybody that you're gray rocking. You have to learn how to not take in those terrible things they say or do to you. You have to be able to teach yourself not to internalize any of that. And that's where the real work really is. But if you don't do that, and if you do the gray rock and the yellow rock, and you just take all the things coming at you behaviorally, that's a good thing, because you know it won't escalate further. But that might be quietly escalating within you, because you're not reacting, you're just stoic, right? And the things are coming at you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're stoic, right? But, if you don't release that out of your system, if you don't get therapy, if you don't talk to someone, if you don't, learn to work on your self-esteem, and if you don't learn to love and trust yourself to a point that, that you really love and trust yourself. Because when you really learn to love and trust yourself, gray rocking and yellow rocking is easy. It becomes easy. It really is. When you really develop that self-esteem, when you really start to trust yourself, when you really are able to go, you know what, I'm right, and all of you guys, are not right for me, all of you guys are not right for me. All of you guys are not safe for me. Everything you guys say is unsafe for me, is bad for my mental health. I'm right, and I'm going to listen to myself now without doubting myself. I'm going to stop with that self-doubt. I can't afford to self-doubt myself anymore, and I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do the things that are authentic to me. I'm going to do the things that feel authentic to me, despite your disapproval and despite the drama that me being me will create, no matter what it is in your system, So when you are clear on who you are and where you stand, you become your own authority, you call the shots regardless of who's around you. You are able to call the shots for yourself, and you decide, this person is good for me, this person is not good for me, so I'm going to behave accordingly. And it doesn't matter what they do, when you build that self-esteem, when you see them throwing passive-aggressive comments at you and doing the things that they do, you're actually going to be able to not be affected by it anymore, because you will feel good within. And you will actually look at them through a different light, because you'll see that what they're doing is actually not personal. It has nothing to do with you. And it has everything to do with how they choose to live their life, and how and their world, but their world doesn't have to be your world. So when you see them behaving a certain way, it's almost like when you watch, if you watch a show on TV, and you watch a drama on TV, you will see, oh my God, that person is so toxic, but you don't have any emotions, it doesn't affect you personally, because that's their world. It's on TV, right? It's like a show that you're watching unfold. So when it comes to those kinds of interactions, you treat it like a show. It's like a show. You're watching a show unfold, and you're not part of that show. You're on the other side. It's that's a show. It's like a TV show, You're like the audience of that show, You're part of the audience, and you're just looking at the show. And so it doesn't affect you so much when you really start to work on your own personal development. And while the narcissist continues to be a narcissist and continue to suck people into that vortex that they keep creating, you're going to be living your life. You live your life. You're going to be living your authentic life, a life that you want to live for yourself, where you feel at peace, where you have a sacred space, a space that is sacred to you, a safe space that you created for yourself. It's all about creation, guys. When you detach from that system, everything that you do, it's all about you recreating yourself from scratch. It's all about you recreating your own world and recreating a new family, creating what you want to create all around you, so that you find yourself in a space that feels good to you. And so they will continue being a narcissist or toxic, and they will continue doing what they do, but you're going to have your own environment, and you're going to have your own things going, so those things will not affect you so much anymore. And so the point of all that is that when you do gray rock or yellow rock, the techniques are quite clear. It's you can use toxic positivity to get that negativity out of your way, or you can just be stoic and do the gray rock. But no matter what method fits you, remember that it's not enough just to do that method. You actually have to pair that with some deep internal strengthening, with some deep internal strengthening. You have to work on your personal development. That's the most important thing. You have to learn to rise above all of that and decide for yourself that you are enough, and that whatever happens, happens, but that's just not your problem anymore. Because the most important thing right now is for you to safeguard yourself, for you to safeguard your mental health, your emotional safety, and it doesn't matter what other people do or say about you anymore. When you reach that point, it won't matter what they do. All that matters is that you do what you gotta do to protect yourself, and you focus on the things that are important to you and that make you happy and that matter in your life, So I hope that this helped you a little bit. Really important to remember, yellow rock and gray rock are very important tools that will help you safeguard your safety. But be aware that it's not enough just to do that. Okay? Be aware that that comes with all sorts of things. A narcissist will not stop being a narcissist because you yellow rock or you gray rock. And they will continue hurting you, So you have to emotionally detach. Gray rock also means emotionally becoming a rock when it comes to them, Not just your behavior, but also turning your emotions into a rock when it comes to anybody who's bad for you. All right? Take good care of yourself. And remember, I love myself. I trust myself. Repeat as often as you have to until that really sinks in. Okay? Let that sink in. Love and trust yourself. That's what you gotta do. Okay? Take care.